Welcome to another exciting edition of FireBytes. As Wendy mentioned, we've been off the air for a little bit, doing some live training and whatnot. So I felt like we have quite a bit to catch up on. And if you're not familiar with FireBytes, we take about half an hour to discuss technical issues, any updates from the tech side of things, and then as time permits, actually go into the live interface, make some configuration, and show you guys kind of behind the scenes and get rid of those slides. Today, I can't make any promises that we're going to be able to deviate from the slides because we have so much to catch up on that here within the 30 minutes, we'll try to rush through and try to make everything available. And certainly, if I'm going too fast, you need to catch up with something, we're going to take this episode and put it on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WatchGuard NW, and we'll definitely provide that or send that out to you as well to keep up with. So looking at the agenda for today, it's always a little bit tough to say, gosh, what are the top things that I want to address with some of our partners or end users? And, you know, being in the trenches with WatchGuard as a end user, I have that experience to pull on and say, you know what, this new feature, FQDN, fully qualified domain name, would be a relevant topic. We have some exciting new features with IPsec when we talk about dynamic tunnels to Amazon. So definitely keep that input coming, and we'll certainly make that content relevant for you guys. So today we're going to talk about some security services updates, and we'll talk a little bit more about that upcoming. We're going to talk about some new hardware updates, some exciting new hardware coming from WatchGuard. Don't want to spoil the fun too much, but we'll give you some teasers on that. We're going to introduce the new T70. If you guys haven't seen, this thing is a rockstar, whereas the T50 or T30 and T10 were plastic cases because of built-in Wi-Fi. This T70 was born out of a need for faster speeds when we talk about, for instance, Google Fiber rolling out or other fiber projects rolling out. I was talking to someone, they said, oh, I've got a gig at home. So this is exactly the kind of product that's meant for the gig fiber projects. We've got some exciting software updates, including actually the beta for 11.12. So if you're interested in getting involved, providing some valuable feedback on the 11.12 and some of the features that presents, feel free to reach out and we'll give you that sign-up link on there. But some of the things that we've been rolling out previously, network discovery, botnet detection. And again, if you have reputation-enabled defense subscription, this is just rolling out part of that, no additional licensing needed for that. And then a policy hit counter. Almost every week I have someone say, gosh, I'm doing a network audit. How can I find out how many times this one policy has been hit? And certainly we'll cover that today with a policy hit counter. One of the exciting new features coming out actually in 11.12, geolocation blocking. I have a lot of people that say, gosh, I don't have any business or need to send emails, anything whatsoever to maybe Russia, China. How can I block outgoing and incoming requests from that country, just to make sure you don't have any command and control traffic going there? And geolocation's your perfect answer for that. And just in case you're wondering, you have a sticky note on the bulletin board. I use that post-it notes all over. Note to self, if you've ever asked these questions of what rogue access points are on my network, and if you haven't checked out or actually thought about the implications of having Wi-Fi on your network, and people start bringing in rogue access points or listening into some of your wireless traffic, how can you manage that? Or how to disable rogue access points on your network securely without any false positives. There are some of our competitors that have them, and unfortunately, there's also some false positives where I would knock out the Starbucks Wi-Fi next door, and certainly I don't want to get a lawsuit from them. Some of the other questions you might have on your to-do list, maybe from marketing, that says, gosh, technology department, are you able to pinpoint where customers are walking in my store, or how many potential customers are walking by versus coming into my store? So much more with wireless. Stay tuned. That's coming actually out in our next FireBytes session. Julio will be doing a fantastic job of presenting that. Total Security Suite. So a lot of times people ask me, gosh, we have all these fantastic security services, and then I need to add on, for instance, APT blocker to block against ransomware. Maybe I'm concerned about data loss prevention. Is there any one umbrella that would cover everything? And absolutely, it's the Total Security Suite. So it's going to have your APT blocker, data loss prevention, and Dimension Command on there. Now, Dimension Command is one of those features that we talked about. The policy hit counter is actually coming out through Dimension Command as well. It's currently out. Any appliance with Total Security Suite is also covered by Gold support. So another point to make about that, about support, previously WatchGuard had a support case limit. We have completely removed any case limits. You can call as many times to support as you want, as long as you have a support contract. So don't feel bad, or you don't have to go running around your network looking for a WatchGuard or FireBytes that has available case on it. You can call about any one of them. So what was previously referred to as the Security Software Suite is now going to be called the Basic Security Suite, and that's covering FireBytes models T10 all the way on up to the M5600 on there. Now, just a quick overview, the security subscription update. Everything is covered under basic security, except when we get into, for instance, APT blocker that you can see here, data loss prevention. Just to recap, sometimes people aren't quite clear what this data loss prevention encapsulates. So if we are concerned about, for instance, credit cards or personal identifiable information being leaked out of the network, I had a case where there was an infected point of sale machine, that credit cards were being emailed out. Certainly DLP is going to be your best line of defense for that, to be able to block those credit cards or social security numbers, what have you, going out from there. Dimension Command, and then we have a new exciting feature, malware detect and respond. Without saying too much about it, it's going to be a competitor in the EDR space. So stay tuned on that. If you buy the Total Security bundle today, you're actually going to get grandfathered into any additional services that we have. For instance, this malware detect and respond on there. And again, same support levels. You have your 24/7 all the way across the board. Just let me know if you have any questions on that. So on to exciting news. Gave it away a little bit. The T70, we have 8 1 gig interface ports on there. It's recommended up to 60 users, wired only. It's a full metal case, and this boy is solid. I've traveled around with it in my carry-on luggage, and it's a solid firewall for sure. 3.9 gigabits per second firewall, 1 gigabit per second UTM speeds on there, as well as 2 additional PoE switches. We've had a fantastic or overwhelming response on the some of our T30 on that PoE. They just say, gosh, can't we have more than one PoE? Maybe we have a VoIP phone. We also have an access point. Can we also have another one? So we've given that to you, 2 PoE ports for those remote devices, peripherals. As we look at that UTM throughput of that, we have in full UTM mode. So out of the box, WatchGuard might not be the fastest. However, anyone realizes that once you turn on those security services, you're going to take a degradation of speed, and you can see that right here. Any one service, IPS, and WatchGuard definitely remains the leader. 38% higher than its best competitor. Now, one of the other exciting changes that we've had coming down the pipe, and I know that we've kind of had those discussions in the past, as we look at what the criminals, what hackers are doing as of late, they're using channels such as DNS, NTP, HTTPS, because people aren't able to inspect those channels. You might be subscribed to Secplicity, which is Corey Knockreiner's new blog. If you aren't, make sure you go out and check that out. For instance, he just had a post on there about inspecting, or the importance of inspecting, HTTPS. However, as people look at how to roll out HTTPS inspection and networking, again, if you're interested in having us dive more into depth on a future FireBytes session for this, feel free to let us know, and we'll certainly tailor that agenda for HTTPS inspection. One of the ways that WatchGuard's actually making that easier, because one of the challenges is pushing out that certificate. So we've actually rolled out a certificate portal. Now, when you go in and you actually make it or specify HTTPS inspection, it's going to go ahead and activate a portal behind the scenes. Now, what you can actually do with that is send this URL we see on the screen here, Firebox IP address with the port number and cert portal on there to your users. Now, if it's a Windows environment and you have group policy objects, you probably have your workstations locked down, so they're not able to install the certificate. In that scenario, you can easily just push it out via group policy objects on there. And I have some how-to videos as well on our YouTube channel. However, where this is also perfect is when we talk about, for instance, mobile devices. For instance, iPhones, iPads, you name it, bring your own device, you can send this out and they'll be able to get there. Now, what you can actually do is you have a little bit of customization on there. It shares the customization features of the authentication portal. You can customize the page logo, page colors, the page title and text cannot be customized. So as we look at how that environment looks, let me just pull it up here real quick for you. So again, as we just go to HTTP, we have the IP address of the Firebox. This can be the internal, external IP address, you name it, as long as it's open for the outside world. The 4126, which is the port number, cert portal. Whoops, sorry about that. Let's go back here. Cert portal, click download, and that's going to download your CER file. Now from there, you can easily push that out via group policy objects. You can just right-click and install if you have those permissions. So definitely a nice way to be able to make that a little bit easier for pushing out that those certificates. Now next up on the agenda, we have network discovery. Network discovery is a great new feature of WatchGuard that's just giving you that ease of use for visibility into your networks. You're going to have the ability to discover those devices on your internal network if you have maybe a privileged or trusted network and a guest network, and be able to display those on a network map. Some of the features that what you can get is IP address, device name, host name, MAC address, operating system and services, open network ports. Now, why open network ports? And that's a great question. Let's say all of a sudden you're doing some sort of a scan on your network and somehow a workstation has become infected and has actually now become a web server and has the keylog data for the outside world that a hacker can go to that website and simply download maybe some screen pics or that keylog data. So certainly you want to know what your computers are publishing on your network, and definitely have your firewall configured to where we're not allowing any from there. And then you would be able to view your mobile security devices and compliance status as well. Now, a bit of note, when you do enable network discovery, the process load is going to increase. The nice thing about that, and it's going to consume additional memory, the nice thing about it is that you can schedule it. So you can schedule it during maybe off hours and maybe run it one time during peak hours to see if someone has left a device plugged into the network. So just make sure that you only enable it if you plan to use it, and then again scan it to maybe schedule during your off hours. So again, network discovery is only supported on M and T series fireboxes and XDM devices. So if you had, for instance, 515 or a little bit older firebox, feel free to contact us about trading up M400, M500, and we'll get you some of these new features as a result. So with botnet detection, I touched a little bit on it. It's going to go ahead and just be licensed in part of that reputation-enabled defense. One of the benefits on this is that when we look at those botnet networks, we're going to look at clients using non-traditional network ports, social networks, peer-to-peer. Some of the uses of those botnets, obviously, most of you are very aware of this. Denial of service attacks come from them, sending spam and viruses, stealing private data from networks. And as we talk about, for instance, the denial of service attack that happened last week with webcams, nanny cams, people didn't understand that they were vulnerable. They needed to protect them. And obviously, it's up to the manufacturer to write secure code. But in the event that they don't, obviously, I want to be make sure that my network at home is secure, whether it's a smart refrigerator. Many of you noticed I have referenced in the past where I came across an article that said a spam or smart refrigerator was sending out 750,000 spam emails. No pun intended, but again, that device, IoT device, became compromised, and really it's because of that command and control traffic. So if we're able to put a firewall in between that network and those devices, then those devices on my network obviously can't be a part, can't go to attack. For instance, in that last week's case, it was Dyn DNS. So as we look at that, sending spam viruses, botnets are also used to steal private data from clients. So again, we're just going to take those feeds from Kaspersky. We're leveraging that reputation-enabled defense subscription. Some of the other features of reputation-enabled defense, if you're not aware, is the ability to basically, let's say my colleague in, let's say New York goes to ESPN.com to check out the latest football scores. I go to ESPN, I'm on the West Coast. His firewall automatically gives those components a good or a bad flag. So why should I have to rescan every device on that website or every object on that website? We're talking about cross-site or Java scripting. We're looking for cross-site scripting. I'm just going to give it a fast pass or like a TSA pre-check or a fast block, and ultimately that's going to speed up my firewall. And again, we're just using that same delivery network as well to block against these botnet-style attacks. So to configure it, it is configured enabled by default. You can add exceptions if you needed to do that. Under subscription services, my highlight box, excuse me, is just off a little bit. You do go to botnet detection on there. Now you can actually get botnet detection statistics simply by going to your subscription page. Now, a lot of us, you know, we're kind of 50-50 on how many of us Firebox managers use the policy manager through the Windows. We also have it through the web as well. So let me just go ahead and take a minute to show you that subscription services, because it's a great value add. If you're wondering what your Firebox is actually doing, or maybe your renewal's up and your boss is asking you to prove how worthwhile a firewall is, you can come under subscription services on your firewall. Here we go, gateway antivirus, intrusion prevention. So we've detected 17 and prevented 17 different intrusions. That could be things like Java vulnerabilities, Flash, etc. DLP, botnet detection. Here we go. We've scanned over 1 million different IP addresses, and we just automatically blocked 9. So whereas before they had to hit certain tripwires that we've set up, kind of like hacker tripwires that I've showed you how to create. Again, if you want to find out how to do that, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WatchGuardNW. But this is tying right into, I don't even need to do anything, tying right in the red on here. And then application control, great, again, for just limiting that streaming medium. So great value in the subscription services. And then just make sure that you have, when you have your update services, so you go to subscription services and you go to botnet detection, just make sure that you have your botnet detection set up for automatic updates. And in fact, this is just a good reminder to go in and check that you have your automatic updates on there. Because the subscription services, if you've never updated them and they're from a year ago, unfortunately, there's quite a few new security subscriptions or signatures on here that you need to download, and you can do that simply by automatically updating. Now, some people ask me, how often does WatchGuard update those security subscriptions? Those come out about 2 times a week. Now, in the event that there's an elevated emerging threat, we can go ahead and push that out faster. And then obviously Web Blocker is tying directly into WebSense, so we're getting up-to-date, instantaneous updates from Web Blocker as well. So let's get back to slides here. We've got botnet list updates. So again, just making sure those updates are being downloaded. Policy hit counter. That's a great new feature, part of Dimension Command. What you can do is just go into Dimension. Let me just show that to you real quick. So I'm going to go into Dimension, and again, if you're not running WatchGuard Dimension, shame on you. It's absolutely free. There's no reason to not be running Dimension visibility. Now, the Dimension Command, it did come out with a promo SKU that was a penny SKU. We are doing away with the penny SKU. So as we look at, for instance, let me go in here to Dimension Command. It's going to give us our health versions of that, our licensing, all in one place. We can go more into depth on Dimension Command. But one of the features of Dimension Command I wanted to bring out, because I do hear a lot of questions on that, especially when auditors are coming into network, is what are my most active policies? So we see right here most active policies tying directly into Dimension. We can actually view all. We have the hits, we have the bytes, status, not used in selected time range. So then we know, gosh, we can go ahead and clean up that firewall rule. We have the Excel export icon, as you can imagine. It's going to give us a CSV file right from there. So very cool on there. Very cool new feature. Now, while I'm in here, just want to switch over to the firewall policy and show you about FQDN, the functionality, the power of that. Now, a lot of you are actually moving to the cloud. And as you're looking at maybe 365 or other services in the cloud, being able to create a policy that addresses all that cloud traffic. So what we can do is, FQDN is a perfect example of that. And previously, we had a one-time DNS lookup. And as you know, IPs change with content delivery networks. Maybe there's 50 different IPs. So what we can actually do is just address that policy based or leverage by leveraging fully qualified domain names here. So if I wanted to create a HTTP proxy role, and again, if you didn't notice that, if it's been a while since you've caught up with us, we now actually have two different roles. One is .standard, and that's going to give you just a little bit more updated when we talk about what's going on with URLs and how programmers are, the website programmers are making their languages, and sometimes our limits were hit in the past on that. So this is just going to increase those limits on, for instance, the address limit from there. But under proxies, we can go ahead and click on add. And now what we can actually do is we specify from any trusted. And in this case, we're going to say take out any external. And we're going to leverage, go right into FQDN. So some very cool things here that we have. Server load balancing. So if you're wanting to publish, for instance, a website farm to the outside world or an email farm, you can do that with server load balancing as well. So what we can actually do is go under fully qualified domain name, type in star.microsoft.com or what have you. We can allow asterisks on there, click OK, and now we have a policy that's going to address all traffic to star.microsoft.com. Pretty cool, cool new feature. Geolocation blocking. Again, one of the most asked for features and one of the more exciting features that's coming out with 11.12. If you haven't seen it and you have a need for it, feel free to reach out, ping me, Julio or Wendy. We'll get you set up in the beta, and you can take a look at geolocation blocking. So in this case, what we can actually do is say, you know what, we don't want any traffic maybe from Russia. We don't have any need for communications to China or maybe some parts of Africa. We can just click on those countries as needed. I don't want to give away too much. We'll definitely have a future FireBytes session that goes in depth on that. just know that it's coming and it's out there on there. Now, as we look at, Wendy did mention we've actually been extremely busy doing live in-person trainings. And I talk to people, I actually just talked to someone this week in the San Jose area. It's like, gosh, Johan, when are you going to do some live training in the area? I'm like, well, unfortunately, as you can see right here, we were just in the Milpitas area September 29th. We've had a full schedule of live training between Julio and I, rocking around the country or the Northwest and Southwest, delivering those in-person trainings. And those are typically about 5-hour trainings. So why am I bringing these up if they happened in the past? Great question. Because some of you aren't getting the notification that these are actually happening. Now, under your WatchGuard account, there's subscription, or you can actually edit your profile what you get notifications on. Just go in there and make sure that you have educational events happening. And if you have any additional questions you want to get added to the list, feel free to reach out to one of us. We'll add you in there, and then you'll be notified of any trainings on there. So, you know, and while this is just a few of the trainings, I've been to Boise, I've been to Alaska doing different trainings. So certainly, you know, if it's in our territory, we're more than willing to go out and schedule a boot camp for that. But just let us know if you're interested in attending those future events. So with that, I wanted to thank you for your time. Hopefully this was valuable on highlighting some of the new features. Now, the next FireBytes is going to come December 9th. Julio is going to start our new session on those next generation of access points for secure wireless intrusion prevention. Maybe you want the meshing feature or footfall analytics. Tune in next time, and certainly we'll dive in and give you that info. And if you have any additional suggestions for future FireBytes, feel free to reach out to us. Again, the goal of the session is 30 minutes of just giving you guys tips and tricks on how to make the most out of your WatchGuard investment on there. So with that, we will wrap this session up. It'll be posted today to youtube.com/WatchGuardNW. But I wanted to thank you for your time, and we'll see you next time on December 9th.